share it.
Depends how long y'all talk tonight. And if not next week, right? Yep. Awesome. None. I need to know what this is.
Morning, John.
How could you even come close to that? So I take it they haven't even started that yet? So it's basically, yeah, well, that's not gonna work. I don't know. I'm sure.
Now, one thing about how the regular meeting says, but we couldn't have all had this. All of these appointments could have been handled by standing committee.
I can only imagine.
Yes. Now that you mentioned it, let's just be sure everyone's turned off.
I leave mine in the truck so I don't forget it.
Good idea. Good idea. Good morning. And happy Valentine's Day to all of you. We say that with the deepest amount of love and appreciation for your continued attendance and support of your commission.
Politician in here.
Wow.
Good, Dave.
Please rise for our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this beautiful day in Berry County. We thank you for your continued guidance over this commission and the people that help shape the policy in this county. Lord, as it is February 14th, Valentine's Day, we ask that not only we extend the love to our spouses and to our family and friends, but have an open mind and an open heart for your fellow man. Bring love and peace and patience to everything we do, not only today, but every day. And we ask for your special prayers over those families affected by the shooting violence at Michigan State last night. We ask for their healing and their help, and our prayers are with those who lost loved ones last night. Also, we ask for those who are struggling, because we continue to see this on a daily basis, and we know that there are those who need help, and they need resources, and Lord, help us to guide those people and find those people and work with them. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. For the purposes of attendance, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Colton.
Present.
Campbell.
Here.
Doster. Present. Getty. Here. Hatfield.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Smoker.
Here.
Tunison.
Here. Thank you. Approval of written agenda. At this time, any member of the board or public may ask for an item to be removed from the consent agenda and placed under items for consideration.
Yes. L and M.
Item L, approval to enter in the attached monumentation surveyors agreement. And item M will be moved to items under C on items for consideration. Any other commissioners wish to further change the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Could I add some sort of discussion regarding the use of this room here, the Commissioners' conference room?
Let's discuss that under Commissioner comments.
Okay.
Any further request? Hearing no such request, the agenda is approved as amended. Reports from state and county officers. Any state and county officers have any updates they'd like to share with the board?
Morning.
Good morning.
All right.
What's passing around is our thing that I'm going to read, the stats and everything. I just think it's easier for everyone to have an opportunity to have one. There's one for Mrs. Palmer as well as Administrator Brown.
Thank you. Oops. Thank you. I like that.
Mrs. Palmer, did you get?
I did. Thank you.
Berry County Correctional Facility, January 2023 stats. The correctional staff has booked and processed 91 persons into the jail for the month of January, and additionally released 78 persons back into the community. The DAP daily average inmate population was 53 persons. Staff has transported 46 inmates to and from various locations to include court, medical facilities, and other counties. In addition, we have fingerprinted 102 persons at the front counter. Kitchen staff has prepared and served 5,009 meals in our inmate population at the cost of approximately $2.43 per meal. The January stats versus 2018 stats, you can read, but 2023 we booked 91 in, released 78. The DAP was 53. Transportation, it was 46. Public prints 102. 5,009 meals served. Public repairs $611. HVAC repairs $164 and zero in security repairs at this time. I use it on the back, just trying to save money and paper. So, the January 2023 stats: Berry County law enforcement lodged 679 complaints, logged 679 complaints, handled in the month of January. 17 individuals were arrested. There were 303 accidents handled. 50 involved car deer, 1 involved alcohol and or drug related. 340 criminal histories were run for the warrant entries and warrant requests. 78 sex offenders were processed. 237 pistol licenses were purchased. And obviously the stats for 2023 and 2018 are there, which are basically similar at except for the arrest section. So, any questions for us?
Thank you.
You bet.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
What was going on in 2018?
Which part? For arrest or everything?
Well, you get 14 arrests in 2023, but 62 in 2018.
So the judges now are a lot of times, instead of seeking warrants for them and having them come to jail, they give them where they just come to court nowadays to help alleviate some of the issues of having the arrest process, and with all the issues with health and stuff like that. That's some of them summons complaint versus a warrant arrest. That's what's happening nowadays more. They will do a summons complaint warrant for them, so they come to court. They get it notified in the mail for their warrant arrest instead, a summons complaint warrant arrest, instead of us actually arresting them in person and lodging them and then releasing them after they get arraigned. And I do thank you for the invocation this morning.
53 people, or 53 was the average inmate population?
That is correct.
I didn't see what it was in 2018. I just saw the bookings and releasings, but I know that
91 persons.
91, we were consistently, okay.
Yes.
Daily average population, that's what that is.
Yes.
Just got to understand the acronym
And,
there. But,
and we do have it in the paragraph also, which that daily average inmate population but
Okay, and I see that at one point, we were bumping up against our max capacity for the jail, and
Yes.
now that seemed to have gone quite the other way till we probably have half capacity available now.
that is correct for the most part. The hard part is some stuff with some people still having COVID and everything, so we have to keep them basically separated at certain times and everything. But the judges have helped with that also with the summons complaint and releasing them until a lot of times until their day in court for the most part.
Okay. All right, so that trend you think is going to continue, that they're going to,
I cannot answer that one way or the other.
let's hope the trend
Yes.
continues. So, thank you.
Thank you.
That depends on if the state changes the rules again.
It does depend a lot on the state, doesn't it? Any additional reports from state or county officers? Hearing none, limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes.
Good morning, Joel Ibbotson, Rutland Township. I did some research, and thanks to our excellent county administrator that we have, Mr. Brown, we've discovered that there is potentially room for another 2 appointments on the VA board. And you guys mentioned during the meeting that there were excellent applicants and we had to turn some away. You have an opportunity to put 2 more on that board the way that I understand it. I haven't researched this thoroughly yet, so this is just kind of preliminary, but just to get the wheels turning on that bus, I wanted to see if you guys could look into that. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Is there further public comment?
Good morning. Sharon Zabrowski, still Vice Chair, COA, for a few more minutes. I handed all of you this COA quarterly. This is something that we're doing new this year. I want to give you a flying tour. There's an awful lot in here, and 3 minutes isn't long. If you look at page 2, you will see we have a nice note from our director. You'll also see the dates in this quarter that the COA will be closed, and the location of our friendship centers and the hours that they're open. Page 3, we have a lot of free activities that take place every week. Here's a list. Please read the questions at the bottom of the page. I'm assuming you can all read. Page 4, adult daycare services. This gives you a real good explanation of what happens there, gives you some costs and how to get in touch with the COA if you need those services. Page 5, we will help you with your Medicare and Medicaid issues. Whether you have problems or just questions, we can help you. We have the mobile Secretary of State coming to the COA. You'll see a little ad giving you the time and the things that you can do when they're there. We have some classes that are being offered by Colleen. Gives you a description, tells you a little bit about her. Page 6, in-home services. We have different services that are offered. This will give you an explanation of those services. Page 7 shows you what happened last year. This is what we did. And if you will notice, at the bottom of the page, you can tell where our funding comes from. Page 8, nutrition. These are the services that we offer for food. We have 4 services. Don't forget the pets. We do Meals on Wheels for pets. Pets are very important for seniors. Page 9, upcoming events. Things that are going to be happening. Some of them we've already missed. And we have 2 support groups that meet. 10 and 11 are just ads for things that are going to be happening at the COA. We hope to see you there. And on the very back page, our address, how to contact us, our business hours, and when the dining room is open. follow us on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon, and thank you for your years of service on the COA board. You are appreciated.
Thank you.
Is there further public comment?
Hi, good morning. You haven't met me yet. My name is Andrea Bernard, and I just wanted to say hello, introduce myself. I am a resident of Pine Lake. I am also the Pine Lake Association president, but I am not here today in that capacity. I am here today simply as a lake resident. That's it. So I wanted to come out and introduce myself. It is been brought to my attention recently that there is a member of the lake that has been discussing, or rather speaking to the drain project at the lake and claiming that he has the majority of opinion. I simply wanted to come out to you today and just simply state that that's not so, and just be a voice for all of those on the other side of the issue. I know it's a very complicated issue. There's a lot of information that you're weighing through and deciding, and we certainly appreciate all of that. And we are providing Jim Dahl any support and information that he requires and needs as the commissioner. But I just simply wanted to make sure that you know that there are certainly lots of folks on the other side of the issue as well, and that we appreciate all of your due diligence with that. So that's really it. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to provide you any of my contact information as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrea.
Yep, you're welcome. Thanks.
Is there further public comment? Going once? Okay, we will move ahead with our agenda. Various correspondence. Does any commissioner have correspondence they would like to share with the board? I've got one letter that came in late last month from Lana May Langone, also a resident of Pine Lake. A well-written page-and-a-half letter, so I won't read through the whole thing, but she also wanted to express her support for the continuation of finding solutions for the Pine Lake flooding. So, and I will add that to the several that we've got on both sides of the issue. So, any additional?
Yeah, I've got one.
Okay.
Gina Johnson, state rep, reached out to me last week. There was a request for, there's a Robin grant for broadband in Berry County. And Jennifer Heisman, who is, I think she runs the Chamber of Commerce, right? Yeah, okay. So anyway, she's been spearheading this. And I know Rutland Township has taken $400,000 and some of their ARPA money, and they can turn that into $3.1 million worth of state grants towards broadband. So I just wanted to say that Gina reached out, and she's on this for Berry County. So anyway.
Awesome. We'll talk about that a little more in our commissioner comments as well.
Yep.
Additional correspondence to share with the board? Okay. Consent agenda. Commissioner Getty. Take a drink.
I might take a drink break here. I move for the approval of the January 24th, 2023 Board of Commissioner meeting minutes. B, approval of the January 31st, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. C, approval of February 7th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. D, approval of the appointment of Michael Ben Stoling to the Berry County Conservation Easement Board position representing the ag interest for a term that began on January 1st, 2023 and ends on December 23, 2025. E, approval to reappoint Daryl Cheeseman and Rick Moore to fill the citizen-at-large positions on the Parks and Recreation Board for 3-year terms that begin January 1st, 2023 and end on December 31st, 2025. F, approval to appoint Cheryl Lewis Blake and Dr. Douglas Smendek to reappoint Terry Dennison and L. Michael Snyder to serve on the Berry County Commission on Aging for 3-year terms that begin on January 1st, 2023 and expire on December 31st, 2025. G, approval to reappoint Dan King and appoint Craig Stolzenberg to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for 3-year terms beginning January 1st, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2025. H, approval to reappoint Frank Fiala to serve on the Berry County Solid Waste Oversight Committee in the position representing the Road Commission for a 1-year term that began on January 1st, 2023 and expires on December 31st, 2023, as approved by the Berry County Road Commission on December 20th, 2022. I, approval to appoint Craig Stolzenberg to serve on the Solid Waste Oversight Committee as the village representative for the remainder of a 3-year term that began on November 1st, 2020 and expires on October 31st, 2023. J, approval to appoint Charles Alexander and reappoint Sharon Zucala to serve on the Berry County Veterans Affairs Committee for 4-year terms that began on January 1st, 2023 and expire on December 31st, 2026, and to appoint Sean Ricketts to serve a partial term that began on January 1st, 2021 and extends to December 31st, 2024. And K, approval of the revised Berry County Information Technology Policy.
Support. Support. Motion by Getty, support by Smelker for all items listed on the consent agenda. Discussion is not allowed and a roll call vote is required. All those in favor vote aye. Opposed, nay. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Colton. Aye. Campbell.
Aye.
Doster.
Aye.
Getty.
Aye.
Hatfield.
Aye.
Smelker.
Aye.
Tunison.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye. The consent agenda is approved. Presentations. With us today is Rachel France to give us the annual recycling coordinator report and talk about the Solid Waste Oversight Committee. Welcome, Rachel.
I would first like to present the Solid Waste Oversight Committee annual report. So it's not in the presentation, it was in your packet. It says at the top, 2022 annual report, Berry County Solid Waste Oversight Committee. Sorry. So again, my name is Rachel France. I'm currently serving as the recycling coordinator for the county. I report to the Berry County Solid Waste Oversight Committee. They provide the planning to manage Berry County's solid waste and assist the Board of Commissioners in developing budgets and policies to reduce waste and promote recycling across the county. So this annual report goes over the household hazardous waste events, what we collected. It breaks it down by material type. And then we also go into the financials. So for 2022, we took in a revenue of $110,000, well, slightly over that. So we got $92,000 in waste management tipping fees. That's part of a contract we've had with that landfill for quite some years now. And that is what provides that board with the funds to hold that household hazardous waste event, as well as deer pickup throughout the county. We took in $1,669 at our electronics collections through donations for TVs and monitors. And then we also had $14,292 come in for grants, and there will be more coming in this year.
Rachel, would you pull that microphone a little closer to you?
Sure. Sorry, I know I'm very quiet. I have a hard time with that. Our household hazardous waste collection events cost us $49,836 for the year of 2022. So you can see we did pretty well. That's actually below our normal, and I think that's a lot to do with the electronics collection. We partner with Padnos, and they can pay for some electronics. The TVs, though, cost a lot. We also go into the member attendance on that first page, and then on the second page, it's kind of just my annual report, so I'm not going to go over that right now because I have a whole presentation to talk to you about that. Do I have any questions on the annual report for SWAC? Yes.
I see you have deer removal on here for 11/5, something like that. Solid Waste handles the deer removal, deer pickup?
So the road commission does that. The money just goes through the solid waste board, and Frank Fiala is the chair and has been for a while, and he is with the road commission. So unfortunately, he's unable to be here today to talk a little bit more about that. Any other questions?
No other questions? Continue on.
Fantastic. All right, so to my presentation, happy Valentine's Day again. I found some really cute recycling hearts, so you'll see those throughout. Next slide. Like I said, I report to the Berry County Solid Waste Oversight Committee, and I already told you what they do. So the position that I currently am in has 5 main tasks. The first is to provide administrative assistance to the Solid Waste Oversight Committee. I'll also refer to them as the SWOC. I'm sorry, I have a lot of acronyms, and I will try to explain them as I go. So I provide assistance by attending meetings. I work with neighboring counties. Specifically, I've been working a lot with Eaton County lately. I administer the mini grant program, provide technical support for grantees, and I serve as a representative in recycling groups such as the Michigan Recycling Coalition. Next slide. So these are my metrics to date. This is since I started in June of 2021. I should also mention I am a conservation technician for the Berry Conservation District. So the recycling coordinator is a contract that we acquired in June. They go very well hand in hand, natural resources and recycling, or also composting and reuse. So since starting in June 2021, I have administered 1 mini grant. We've organized 2 electronics collections. I've given 5 presentations, attended 7 conferences and workshops, written and published 16 educational recycling columns in the reminder. I've attended numerous meetings, created 67 digital and print outreach content, which reached more than 50,000 people on Facebook. The 50,000 is actually, I believe, just in 2022. And I've applied for and been awarded 3 grants, bringing a total of $32,000 to the county. That includes a $6,000 tire grant for the scrap tire collection, a $10,000 material management planning grant, and then $16,000 for electronics collection. Next slide. Like I mentioned, the mini grant program, our first applicant and awardee was the Prairieville Parks and Recreation Department. They applied to put a recycling bin at their Gull Lake Prairieville Township Park for cans and bottles. They noticed a lot of people kind of littering or just throwing them in the trash, and they thought that was a good chance to reduce that waste. So they will also, you can see it's not a great picture, but I didn't want to go out in the winter. It's not going to be any better. So in addition, the blue bin there, it does say cans and bottles on the side, and then they will also be installing an eye-level sign that will help people to see it before they just toss it, and that will help decrease contamination. Next slide. I assist the update for the County Solid Waste Management Plan. This year, however, we began moving towards materials management planning, and I will go into that. It has a focus more on reuse, recycling, and composting. Next slide. So with that, I got the material management community engagement, no, it is county engagement, grant from Eagle. That was the $10,000. If you were here last year, you would have been here when I approached the Board of Commissioners to get approval for that grant. It was $10,000 to the county to revise or to review the mega data project profile on the county, which is something the state put together. They did compliment us on our disposal guide. They said it helped a lot when putting that together. I also reviewed all of the ordinances for the county, all townships, villages, and cities regarding solid waste. With that, I formed a final report for the state, and one of the big things I was trying to do was get some municipal engagement. Next slide. So the goal of the grant was to get 2/3 participation, which is about 67%. I was asking each municipality to join the program. It's a material management program. It's an online sort of database. So the county has a profile. I submit information, and then each municipality is asked to do these 3 surveys about your municipality, which basically says what's your population and what kind of services are you providing currently. This is meant to be a benchmark, so it's kind of the first step in what's going to be a very long reporting process for all of our municipalities. We did end up getting 71% participation, which was excellent, and 33% had joined and completed all the surveys. Next slide. So here you can see a map of the participation. So the city of Hastings, Hastings, Charter, Rutland, Yankee Springs, townships, the village of Freeport, Nashville, and Woodland all joined and completed all of the benchmark surveys. So they really helped me out a lot there when they did that. And then the village of Middleville, Irving, Carlton, Orangeville, Prairieville, Hope, Berry, and Johnstown townships joined and completed between 0 and 1 survey. And then the remaining townships did not join, but they will be. Next slide, as per the state. So all of this work was in preparation for the hopeful passage of House Bills 4454 through 4461. It is an 8-bill package. There's a lot, legislation, so there's a lot of information in there. I'm going to give you a really short, quick breakdown. So these bills modify Michigan's solid waste law, specifically Part 15 of the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act. It took about 7 years for these bills to pass through everything, and they were signed by the governor at the end of December, and they're said to go into effect March 29. However, this state has indicated this may not happen until next fiscal year. Much of their stuff is still in draft mode online, so it sounds like they've got to finalize some of those details. So these bills secure funding and update policy framework. They prioritize landfill diversion, so that means we're not going to focus on landfill expansion and creating new landfills. Nobody wants a landfill in their backyard. We do have room at our current landfill to expand, but we really don't want to do that right away. It's going to focus a lot more on reuse, recycling, and composting. It will also bring forth a slew of new grant opportunities for all sorts of things regarding recycling, reuse, compost, things like that. We can, if we wanted to build a material resource facility, which is like a recycling center where they sort and process materials, we could do that with these grants. Just the possibilities are endless for that. Additionally, there is the material management planning grants. So these are something that we're going to get to write our new plan. It's going to be $60,000 for each county with an additional 50 cents per capita per year for 3 years. This will cover the upfront higher costs and initiating the new planning process. It will be available in the first year, so I think that's maybe where that next fiscal year is coming into play, is they might not be ready for that, but I can't speak on that yet. That information is not 100% at this time. Next slide. So the next steps for this are kind of our big thing. This is outlined in House Bill 5561 if you want to look further into it. The first step is the county approval agency, which is usually the Board of Commissioners. They will need to file a notice of intent within 180 days of the bill's enactment and establish a designated planning agency. The CAA, or Board of Commissioners, will then oversee the creation of the DPA's work and appoint a Material Management Planning Committee. So the Material Management Planning Committee is a separate committee than the Solid Waste Oversight Committee. They'll be responsible for actually bringing everything together to write the new Material Management Plan, which, by the way, will replace our 24-year-old Solid Waste Management Plan. They are supposed to be revised every 5 years. So this is very much a need for us at this time. And so the structure of that planning committee is slightly different also from the Solid Waste Board, and it will include an elected official from the county, an elected official from a township, and an elected official from a city or village, among others, that are very specific, like a material resource facility manager or operator, a compost facility operator, things like that. And I am meeting with the planning committee tomorrow to ask questions like, do they need to be in our county because we don't have a material resource facility. So I'll have more information on that next time. And that's all for that, and I know that is a lot. So next slide. I also assist the Barry Eaton District Health Department with the semi-annual household hazardous waste events, like I mentioned before. Next slide. This is a visual summary of the 2022 events. So like I said, we collected over 73,000 pounds of household hazardous waste. So we prevented those things from going into the landfill. Those items are very harmful. When placed in a landfill, they can leach into the soil, contaminate groundwater, they can harm wildlife, things like that. Including in that number is 27,000 pounds of electronics. And like I had mentioned earlier, that's with an amazing partnership we have with Padnos right here in Hastings. We've been working with them since the beginning of last year, and they've been really great to us. We also collected nearly 3,500 tires from those two events. Next slide. So, like I said, the overall collection event is open and free to all county residents. However, we did charge a small collection fee for CRT and LCD monitors and TVs. We didn't know what to expect in terms of participation for this, so for the first event, we set fees kind of low, between $5 and $10, depending on size and type. We found that did not cover the cost at all. So for the fall event, we upped that, and they ranged between $5 and $30, depending on size and type. So your big TVs were costing $30 to get rid of, which is still much cheaper than it would be if you actually brought them to Padnos. For that reason, so the bill for the fall collection event ended up being $2,000.61, and we received $1,669 in donations. And then additionally, Padnos paid for some of our materials that we gave them. Wires, have pretty valuable. So I think we had a big, I don't know what size those big tubs are, probably 50-gallon or so, full of wires. And we ended up breaking even. I think we actually had a $10 profit, so yay.
Yay.
Sorry. Next slide. Sorry, I have to get a drink. So, due to the success of those events and the clear need in the community, sorry, that cough took it out of me, we applied for the Eagle Row Electronics Recycling Grant, and our proposal was accepted. Jeez. So in addition to the 2 regular events, we will be having a third event. You can go to the next slide. That third event is going to be in the village of Nashville at the Nashville Transfer Station. On this slide, you can see our dates. June 3rd and September 23rd will be our regular household hazardous waste events with the addition of the electronics collection. July 15th will be only electronics, and that will be open to anyone. So Eaton County, Calhoun, whoever wants to come to that can. We'll be sending out mailers and putting it on the website, Facebook page, and an ad in the paper. We will ask for a $10 donation for TVs to keep the event sustainable, and because the grant is only covering 2 of the 3 events per year. It is a 2-year grant, so we'll have 3 events this year and 3 events next year. Next slide. Outreach and education is a really important aspect of my work, reaching the public, letting them know what resources are available, things of that nature. Next slide. So I do things like present publicly, I write a monthly educational column in the reminder, like I mentioned. I act as a contact for the website and Facebook page, produce materials, and then I update the recycling guide. So far I've presented to the Middleville Rotary Club, Hastings Rotary Club, Pierce Cedar Creek Institute, and the Board of Commissioners. Next page. The educational topics so far have included things like general recycling information, where residents can go to recycle, and various disposal sites for things like oil and things like that, ways to reduce holiday waste, and what recycling materials become after they are recycled. Next page. I also keep the website up to date. I've updated all pages on the existing website when I came in. I added a few pages, including an interactive recycling map, which I'll talk about in a minute. I've made a drop-off center and transfer station directory, and a page for the Eaton County agricultural film recycling, which a lot of people are not aware of. It's a big issue in our county and neighboring counties where agricultural is a big business. Next page. So the recycling and disposal guide is something that I kind of inherited when I got this position. A lot of the information in it was out of date, so part of my job was to go through and see, do these businesses still exist? Do they still accept these materials? So over the the past year and a half, I've worked to update and confirm the information, and I will be reformatting that to a digital version and print. Next page. So this is the interactive recycling map. This allows residents to search by location. They can put their address in, and it'll show them who their recycling haulers are, what transfer station or recycling drop-offs are available to them, with details like links, phone numbers, addresses, things like that, any type of cost that might be associated. You can also use the filter option to filter by specific items. Say you're looking for oil filter recycling or something. You can put that in there. So this is something that I keep up to date regularly, and it is interactive, so you can move around it, change things, export, things like that. Next page. And I've created a series of outreach posts. I do this to support our haulers and our drop-off stations. I want to make sure that residents know how to recycle right and empower them to do the best they can. We don't want any of our recycling loads getting thrown out. These are posted on the Facebook page. I also recently put a Facebook feed on the website for folks that are not on Facebook. Next page. And this is my most exciting slide. So last week I got to go to Science Night at the Hastings Public Library. We did recycled paper into seed paper. So we took shredded paper that I got from the office, pulped it with water, and then added some native seeds. And I taught the kids how to make seed paper. 92 adults and 113 kids attended the event. It was a really busy, nonstop, a lot of fun. I'm almost done. Next page. So the last task is to assist the local units of government with their material management goals. Next page. So I serve as a liaison with the county and offer support to all of these municipalities. I attend their meetings, introduce myself, let them know that I'm available to assist them. Jeez. I dispense information and just let them know what's going on in the county and what I can offer them in the way of grants and other resources. Next page. So thank you so much. At the beginning of the first contract period, I attended the Nashville meeting, and they suggested that I go to the transfer station meeting. They were having some issues with that. So from August 2021 to June 2022, I spent a significant amount of time working with them, later serving on their steering committee for helping to improve the facility. We provided recommendations and things like that, which most of them they took. At the June village meeting in 2022, however, the Village of Nashville decided to shift that from the transfer board to the village DPW. And now we're working with the village DPW to hold that electronics collection. The Yankee Springs Township also asked me to visit with their recycling committee. I worked with them to review some documents and also help them secure a small communities grant, which I believe every municipality in Berry County would be eligible for. It's a no-cost grant to get information out with some mailers. So that is going to be available, I believe, at their Winterfest event on Saturday. I'm also now working with Assyria Township and the Village of Nashville to work on hopefully obtaining some sort of single hauler contract. I know Nashville had tried before, and Granger didn't give them the greatest prices, so I'm going to see what we can do with that. Next page. So moving forward, for the remainder of my contract period, which ends in May, I will be focusing on completing that disposal guide, getting it ready to distribute. I will be sending out surveys to schools in the county to gather information about what their material management practices are, as well as sending resources to teachers, including lesson plans and activities for students, so that they can kind of get a hands-on idea of what their school is doing and maybe give them some ideas to start their own recycling programs or start a little green team or something like that. public presentations like this one. I'm hoping to do some more presentations at the libraries. I really enjoyed that, as well as any other, house of worship, any public space that might be interested. And then finally, I'm working on presenting information specifically on the material management plan to all the municipalities. So far, I've visited 4, and I've got the rest on my calendar over the next 3 months. So if you haven't seen me at one of those yet, you will see me soon. And with that, thank you for letting me present to you today, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions from commissioners. Commissioner Tuniston.
So with Granger, I know like Hastings Charter, when Les had it, they had their recycling bin out there but Granger will not do the same service as what Les did. So how do we try to rectify that?
Yeah, so I was actually with Jim Brown with Hastings Charter and a representative from Granger, and we went out and visited the landfill and recycling center, and we talked about that a lot. The main reason Granger is not willing to do it the way that Jim has it set up is that they're the only single source recycling in the county. So for them to come and just take one bin of plastic is very difficult. It's a lot of gas. They're in Lansing, so it would just, to do that for every material is just a bit much. So one of the things that we discussed with Granger was, what if we had more of those?
Yeah.
Because single source is definitely the best way to collect recycling. It decreases contamination so much more. It's incredible. So that is something we're working with them on, as well as increased or additional drop sites.
Well, I know people come from all over and drop them out there at Hastings Charter.
They sure do.
Okay, so if we had more available around the area, I'm
Yes.
assuming it'd be used.
Definitely.
Which might make it more viable for them to participate in that.
Exactly, and that's one of the things we're, I think, going to be focusing on for the new material management plan is where do those drop sites need to be and how should we do that? One of the things we had talked about previously was a mobile recycling unit, which would be single-sourced. So we'd have a cardboard slot at the end and different things, and Granger did like that idea. So we're going to keep continuing those conversations with them, and hopefully in the next couple of years we'll have a nice, solid solution. I am hoping that we can find another more maybe even temporary solution for Hastings, though, in the meantime.
Yeah, good, because a lot of people use that. Thank you.
Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, Bruce.
I'd just like to say that since Rachel's been on board, I can see a distinct movement with our recycling efforts. I think it's something that's overlooked quite often. It's always a dollar sign. But without recycling, if we don't get this right, we're gonna lose it all in the end. So I appreciate your hard work.
Thank you, Bruce.
Commissioner Hatfield.
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Doster.
No questions, thanks.
Commissioner Colton.
No.
Commissioner Getty.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smelter.
Rachel, I don't know if you know this or not, but is Canada still shipping waste into Michigan?
I believe they are. However, the Hastings landfill is not receiving any Canadian waste.
No, but our state wants to make rules, but still bringing in waste from another country.
I can't speak for sure on that. Unfortunately, I feel like things in the state level keep changing so much, I just cannot keep up.
Thank you.
Rachel, excellent presentation. Appreciate all of the work you put into it, and being on the Solid Waste Oversight Committee last year, I think you certainly are moving the needle for us here, where it's been, I don't want to say a beehive, but there's been a lot of energy. We just haven't been able to find the traction for it. Recycling in Berry County has been very township specific.
Yes.
Some are in, some are out. How do we create collaboration between townships so we can provide more access sites, so we can continue to move that needle?
That's a really great question. I think that a big thing would be getting those townships together to discuss their thoughts. I know a lot of issues come with, oh, well, our residents pay taxes for this, that's why nobody else can use it. So the Village of Nashville, Castleton, and Maple Grove actually did, when they had the transfer board, all 3 municipalities paid in, and they all had shared usage. So I think that would be a really great way to move forward that way. And then also involving the haulers, really in the beginning of the conversation, to see what can they do. Because without the haulers, there's not a whole lot that we can do. We need the trucks, we need somewhere to bring it, things like that. And we have places to bring it. We just need the haulers and the communities to come together. So I think maybe holding a workshop with all of them together, or getting some sort of communication going to get everyone involved. I think it's also really important that residents communicate with their boards that they would like to recycle, or that they're at least willing to consider recycling. Places like Grand Rapids have free recycling, and they have just rolled out, I believe, a compost curbside program. And so we can look to bigger cities like that and say, okay, how did you do that? How can we do something maybe at a smaller scale, but something similar, so that we can give everyone equal access to these programs?
Yeah, it seems a little bit like returning to Titanic, just because, I mean, there used to be some money in recycling. At this point, I don't think there is still a profit center for recycling. It's an expense for counties or townships, not a profit center. Is that correct?
Yes, more or less, yeah. The only place really, cardboard, there's a lot of money in cardboard, but to get the money for cardboard, we would have to have it bailed up in order for them to just give us a payment. But just giving it to them mixed with the rest of our stuff, there's not a whole lot of money there, again, because it's potentially contaminated. So there isn't money in recycling in that sense. It's not going to bring us revenue. But by not expanding our landfills, we will save money in that sense. And the more we use recycled materials, those prices will change, just kind of like with organics. The more you buy it, the prices go down, the demand is more, so more people grow it, supply and demand sort of situation.
Yeah, and the recycle right is the other issue that we've talked about in the Solid Waste Committee, just because I know with Hope Township having a recycling bin out there with separate packaging, a lot of people don't understand that clean recycling is now what people want versus bring your recyclables and just dump them.
Yes.
So I don't know what the education process is. I don't know how we move that needle with education, if that's done at a township level, if that's done with constant community interaction, because there's certainly a lot out there. It's just a matter of how we, it used to be simple, it seemed like, where you could just take it and go, and now, like you said, with clean recycling and the need for plastics versus glass versus paper, much more difficult, it seems. It took something simple and made it hard because of the demand from the industry.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's good that the industry is demanding cleaner products so that they can actually put something nice out and not waste it, but it is difficult with outreach and education. The only resources I really have are the website and the Facebook page. I think there's 200 and some followers to the Facebook page, so that doesn't put a dent in the entire county. The paper gets a little bit further, but even then it's just the reminder, so that doesn't get that far of a reach. I think the best way to get that information out is clear signage with pictures, not too many words, that sort of thing. Just really, and just consistent everywhere, very uniform. So we're having the same message at every location, so people aren't wondering, well, is this the right kind of glass, or can I recycle this plastic? So I think just getting all those same haulers and recycling drop-off centers on the same page to make sure we're all putting out the same information will really help with that. But it is hard across the state and other counties because they're all different. Like if you had Les's and now you have Granger, Les's went to the Kent County Recycling Center for their recyclables, and Granger goes to Lansing. So they're going to different MRFs, or material recycling or resource facilities, that accept different things. So now with Granger, I can't recycle my freezer board paper or my Coke can case or even my cartons for chicken stock, because they don't have the equipment to process those materials at the Lansing Center, whereas Kent did. So that sort of messaging, I've been telling people, yes, you can recycle them, and now I have to say, no, you can't. If you have Granger, you can't recycle them anymore. which is also the same with waste management, which I just found out. I called their landfill to see, because they accept recycling. I said, well, can I bring my cartons and freezer boxes there? And they said, no, because Granger picks up our recycling. So Les is used to, and I did not realize that. So it makes it really complicated, and I wish I had a solution. But I think just continuing that outreach and uniform messaging is the best way that we can do that, and starting with our students.
Okay. You had mentioned the Materials Management Planning Committee. Are we going to be able to kind of join forces with Solid Waste Oversight, some of the people serving on the Solid Waste Oversight Board into that? Are they going to require them to be specific committees, or is that something that isn't yet determined by state guidelines?
From what I understand, they are required to be separate committees. There may be some possibility of shared members. I'm going to ask that specific question tomorrow, because some of the requirements for the Material Management Planning Committee are very specific, like I had said. And they're also very vague, though, like an individual who produces managed materials. So I guess that could be me. That could be anyone here who creates any sort of waste. It's a very, very broad language on that, so I'm going to ask some more questions and see, because the Solid Waste Oversight Committee has been doing this for a long time, and they are well aware of how the solid waste planning works. A lot of them were there when they made the last plan that was updated in 1999. So I think their insight would be very valuable. If they're not able to be on that same committee, they will still provide oversight for that committee, I think, with the Board of Commissioners' approval.
And then we'll be working on a 5-year materials management plan going forward, so we're eligible for those grants with the state?
Yes. So to be eligible for the other, not the MMP grants, so not the 60,000, but the other grants, we will have to be working on a plan or have an approved plan.
Okay. You got your work cut out for you this year.
I sure do.
I don't think your contract is going anywhere. I think that'll be renewed, so. But listen, we appreciate your effort and your energy that you put into this. I know there's a passion for it with several people on that committee and in this county to do it. It's a question we constantly get asked, so good luck in your endeavors to create that collaboration, because it is needed in the county. So
Thank you.
If we can be of assistance, you let us know.
I will, and I'll come to you with more grant applications and things like that. I want to keep bringing money to the county. Oh, I did forget to mention, we have another tire grant this year, but we're going through Eaton County, so we will not be passing the money through the county, but we will have the free tire collection event this year as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Continuing with our agenda, items for consideration. Commissioner Tunison.
Mr. Chair, approval of prepaid invoices in the amount of $4,052,595.96.
Support.
Motion by Tunison, support by Smelker for the approval of prepaid invoices in the amount of $4,052,595.96. Discussion. Hearing none, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Campbell.
Aye.
Doster.
Aye.
Getty.
Aye.
Hatfield.
Aye.
Smelker.
Aye.
Tunison.
Aye.
Colton.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chair, approval of the claims, the amount of $68,003.82.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion by Tunison, support by Hatfield for approval of claims in the amount of $68,003.82. Discussion. Hearing none, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Doster.
Aye.
Getty.
Aye.
Hatfield.
Aye.
Smelker.
Aye.
Tunison.
Aye.
Colton.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chair, approval of commissioner reimbursement mileage in the amount of $619.72.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion by Tunison, support by Campbell for approval of commissioner reimbursement mileage in the amount of $619.72. Discussion. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Getty,
Aye.
Hatfield,
Aye.
Smoker,
Aye.
Tunison,
Aye.
Colton,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Doster, Jackson.
Aye. The motion carries. We have items items L and items M that were asked by Commissioner Doster to be moved from the consent agenda under items for consideration. Commissioner Tunison, would you read item L for us, please? I've got it. You have it? Okay.
Yeah, I got it. Approval to enter into the attached 2023 monumentation surveyor agreement and authorize the chairperson and grant administrator to sign the attached agreement on behalf of the county.
Support.
Motion by Tunison, support by Getty for the approval to enter into the attached 2023 monumentation surveyor agreements and authorize the chairperson and grant administrator to sign the attached agreements on behalf of the county. Discussion. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. And good morning to the commissioners. I have answers to questions that you had last week. First of all, I would like to start with, I can't remember who exactly asked about the state land and whether they were monumented.
I think John did.
All right. No, the answer to that is no. Those are excluded from the county plan, as this is to serve the public primarily, the citizenry of the county. So therefore, no. And towards Commissioner Doster, we have 1,978 unique locations in the county, and 1,597 of them have been completed as of date. That leaves 381 unique locations remaining, which is approximately 81% of the total county at the moment. If we're going to look at this from a standpoint...
That's what percent?
81%.
381 is...
381 remaining unique corners out of 1,978.
But 81% are done?
Complete.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
81%
Yes,
complete.
81% complete.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. And so if we were to look at the last 3-year average in terms of the budget that we've received, this is approximately, we're looking at 36 corners on average a year. So with 381 remaining, if we were to stay at the current level of funding and no inflation and none of the likes, anything like that, we're looking at approximately 11 more years for the first phase. And this is, I mean, again, this is a part of what the fluctuation of funding that occurs over time, as there is inflation that occurs. I mean, if you look back 20 years, what you could get for $50,000 in terms of services in comparison to what you can get today is quite significantly different. In the same respects, the amount of money that goes into from each deed into the program does not change. It's a standard set $4 fee on all of the deeds that are recorded, then sent into the state. With that said, I actually contacted the state to get some information about how much did they received from Berry County. They looked back 2 years in time. So in 2021, the county's contribution to the state was $61,661.82. For 2023, they take 40% of that off the top, and then based on that allocation, which I believe this year is $6.8 million, there's a calculation to divide that remainder past that 40% contribution to each of the individual counties based on their individual contribution back in a per square mile calculation that then gets added to a second portion of that, which combined together creates the entire amount of the grant for any given year. So when we paid in $61,661.82 in 2021, the grant year for 2023 actually comes out to $62,639. So we've actually had an increase of about $1,000 that comes from outside of the county's contributions in total. So on average, I would say that the county actually gains in terms of the amount of money that we have. But I would also caveat this with, back in 2008, it went from a very booming time in terms of real estate into a recession. And so the less deeds that are recorded, the less money that goes in. So in 2008, at the time, I worked in St. Joseph County as doing a very similar job to what I'm doing here. And we went from having about $55,000, $60,000 in our annual grant to about $28,000 the next year. So if we're going to take that into account of the time frame for the first phase, then we're dealing with, you know, potentially even much longer than 11 years or so on. You know, it could get spread out over that. Regardless of that time frame, once the phase 1 is over, as I alluded to in the last meeting, there is a phase 2 portion, which is a maintenance, which does change the amount of return that the county will get from the state reimbursement of the grant, annual grant. But then that is a perpetuation of this infrastructure. And that's how, you know, I think we should really perceive what was going on as this is a giant infrastructure program that we're embarking upon. From, you know, it would be like the late 1800s to 1994 or so, about when the program started, there was a lack of upkeep to the infrastructure itself. And, you know, if we could make right what once went wrong, you know, I guess this is what we're doing at this moment. So, and to add on to that, out of the 83 counties, I was informed by the state that only 9 of them are actually in that maintenance phase at this moment. So I believe that Berry County is right on track in comparison to the rest of the state. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, what all is marked? Like in a section, the section posts, the quarter
Yes.
posts?
Yep. Section corners, quarters, which would be the half miles, the centers, and meanders, which are when a corner lies in a body of water, they project that to the side of the water body so they can create a straight line, if you will. But in 2020, or in preparation for the 2020, there was a mandate or a process through the new legislation with the state to update the county plan. So each county had to go through and update their county plan, which was, you know, was probably written back in 1996. And in that, it actually asks for a catalog of all of the corners of each county, which will be included and which will not be included, based on, you know, what the needs of the areas. When you get into places like Southwest or Southeast Michigan, you have like the old French quarters, which are a part of, before it was a territory of Michigan, it was a part of the French region. You have Native American reservations that are treated differently with regards to their boundaries. And the original intent of it was to remonument the General Land Office, the GLO corners. But some of those corners, which most of them are important, but some of them are not nearly as important, like especially when you get into public lands and such like that, when there is going to be no transfer or sale of property, because this all again goes back into the development of the county and the ability for people to transfer and develop property and have a good system for locating property boundaries and the likes.
Thank you.
Further questions? So based on those numbers, if we have 381 corners remaining, we're doing 36 a year, 10 to 12 years, we should be in the completion stage.
At the current level of funding, with
right.
the current prices, I guess, of you know, because one of the questions I had last week was, is it hard to find surveyors? Well, these are private companies with private businesses, so we, in essence, are also competing for their attention as well. And so, I mean, it has to be competitive.
Okay. I appreciate you coming back and doing a thorough job answering those questions. Thank you. Further discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Hatfield.
Yes.
Smelker.
Aye.
Tunison.
Aye.
Colton.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Doster.
Aye.
Getty,
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye. The motion carries. Item M.
Mr. Chair, approval to appoint the following licensed surveyors to the Berry County Remonumentation Peer Review Board for 2023 and authorize the chairperson to sign the attached 2023 agreement for, lost my spot,
For peer review services.
on behalf of the county. Stephen C. Gruber, is that it?
Close enough. Corber.
Corber with Arrow Land Surveying Incorporated. Michael P. Pratt with Crane Land Surveying, PC. Cameron Reed Lear with Excel Engineering Incorporated. Randall J. Jonker with Jonker Land Surveyors, PC. Rodney Lee Breedeweg with Land and Resource Engineering, LRE. Ryan Miller with RD Miller Land Surveying.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion by Tunison, support by Smelker for the approval to appoint the following licensed surveyors to the Berry County Remonumentation Peer Review Board for 2023 and authorize the chairperson to sign the attached 2023 agreements for peer review services on behalf of the county. Stephen C. Corber with Arrow Land Surveys, Michael P. Pratt with Crane Land Surveying, PC, Cameron Reed Lear with Excel Engineering, Randall J. Jonker with Jonker Land Survey, PC, Rodney Lee Bredewig with Land and Resource Engineering, LRE, and Ryan Miller with RD Miller Land Surveying. Discussion.
My question on it was, I glanced, I didn't read the entire contract that was provided, and I didn't quite understand what the peer review board did. And the other thing out of there was, what jumped out at me was a $200 per diem, which I was wondering if that was correct, because it seems higher than any other per diem I know of in the county.
The peer review board is the checks and reviews, if you will, of the work that the other surveyors have done. So it is the group of surveyors, as you can see, that we have from the service contracts, and they come together. I think it's four meetings. And at that time, they all discuss all of the research they did, where the locations where they plan to put the actual monument, and everything that goes along with it. There's some debate, some back and forth. A lot of times they're sent back out into the field to do additional checks and the likes. And then once the peer review group has approved a location, then they finalize their paperwork, which then is recorded at the Register of Deeds. They put the actual physical monument in the ground, and then that's submitted to the state. So that becomes a permanent land record for that. So any other surveyor or individual could go research that and find all of the information that goes back to the GLO, back to the 1800s, going forward. And it is quite an extensive project. The $200 per diem is what the going rate we've been paying for, I believe, years now. So, and surveyors hourly. I don't know what to say other than that.
Is this this is a state mandated board that its construction, or?
It is a part of the actual process, yes. We do have to have a peer review group to approve this.
Of a certain size, and
we have to form a quorum. It's just similar to any other public board.
Peer review is required by the law.
Mm-hmm.
The process of peer review is by professional surveyors. It is a professional service. This isn't just getting citizens together for a meeting. Every one of these peer members.
Mike, you want to stand up to the mic?
Okay. Every one of these peer group members lives outside of Berry County. They are traveling from outside the county to Hastings to participate in a meeting that's generally at least 2 and sometimes 3 hours long. $200, it's a bargain.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Smoker.
Aye.
Tunison.
Aye.
Colton. Campbell.
Aye.
Doster. Getty.
Aye.
Hatfield. Jackson.
Aye. The motion carries. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, we have none. County Administrator's report, Michael.
I'm all set, thank you.
Chairperson's report. I was at Hope Township last night. They also are going to do some allocations towards some Robin Grant funding to expand broadband in Hope Township. Other than that, I'm just at the beginning of the meeting cycle here. So, Vice Chair's report.
I too am at the beginning of the meeting cycle, so next 2 weeks are going to be busy.
Commissioner reports. Commissioner Doster.
Is this where I would bring up my request about the room? No,
Let's
later
do that
on.
under Commissioner
Okay,
comments.
so no comments.
Yep. Commissioner Colton. Commissioner Getty.
I attended Yakey Springs Township. They hired a new zoning administrator. So they had been previously contracting with PCI, and now we'll have an in-house zoning administrator, which I think is a move in the right direction for them. And they're working on finishing their hall renovations. They've torn apart the old wing, so that's under construction now, and working on finishing the furnishings in the new wing. And they'll be meeting in the Gun Lake Community Church for the time being.
Awesome. Commissioner Smelker.
Attended Thornapple Township last night, and I have Irving, I believe, tonight.
Awesome. Commissioner Tunison.
Attended Rutland last week, Wednesday. Carlton Center last night, and I'll have Hastings tonight.
Awesome. Commissioner Campbell.
I attended Maple Grove, Assyria, and Johnstown Township meetings. I also attended the Conservation Easement Board's meeting on February 2nd. Next month's meeting has been changed to March 8th at 5 o'clock for anybody interested in attending. And also Friday, I'll be attending the Barry Eaton Health Department meeting at Friday. That's over in Charlotte this time.
Awesome. Thank you. Limited public comment at this time. Any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes. Hearing none. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Doster.
I also wanted to bring up the comment about the request for adding 2 more VA appointments to the board. I think that that's worth some sort of consideration. I had asked that question when we were doing these interviews because we did seem to have quite a number of good candidates. And it seems like Lonnie Forbes responded that we had recently enlarged that board, and she thought it was of an adequate size. But it was hard turning some of those candidates down. And if we were actually going to entertain and putting more candidates, I didn't know that we had the ability to put any more on there. Maybe Michael could address that if that's something that has been newly discovered. If we were going to do it, now would be the time because these candidates are still in our minds and we have a running track of how we voted. I would suggest that we would just go down the next list of who received the most votes, not that we would re-vote again. But.
Good discussion, and we had talked about that as well, that any of those candidates are able to plug into those meetings and lend their support, volunteerism, and help out without actually being seated on the board. They can still attend those board meetings, so they're not restricted or eliminated from participating, and several of them had never been to a meeting before as well. So, but we are blessed, and we have a number of good volunteers like that show up. I mean, it's amazing to see, especially with veterans, the outpouring of concern that they have. So, good comments.
Okay. Regarding this room, when I was a commissioner 30 years ago, we used that as a conference room for the commissioners. And right now we're kind of, when we need to talk to somebody or whatever, we're doing it in the hall, in front of and it's being used for storage. And I know that when I was on the board previously, we were the board kind of that designed and built the new courts and law building, and the entire basement at that point was considered to be used for storage, but we had not envisioned that there would be a public defender office at that time, and then they've cut up and used considerable amounts of that. And I was wondering if we could put storage of this stuff elsewhere, like perhaps at the front of the old front of the court building or something. I was told that a number of these documents are regarding the airport, which I didn't know. But, and whether these things, do we have a retention policy on these? It seems like these, I mean, I understand court documents are governed by the state as to what you have to keep, but it seems like after 3 years or something that there's hardly any document that we would really need to retain.
We have used that room in the past for conferences as well throughout my 7, 8 years or 10 years as a commissioner. So it is available to use for any commissioner at any time. And
well,
so we can address that with Michael
right now.
Yeah,
there's 2 chairs.
Yeah. So we've used Michael's conference room in the administration office as well. But I don't know, Michael, if you have any thoughts on that as far as the storage or the availability to expand that room, make it a little more user friendly.
Yeah, so, as we talk with the building group, we can work that in, but what's happened is Mark's correct, there's airport documents there, and I would like to agree, we purge those as we can, but the reality is that we have accessed farther back than 3 years quite regularly with a lot of those documents, particularly as airport commission members change and whatnot. We'll go back and look to some of those records. Those are a couple of file cabinets. The other are personnel records, and we inherited those when the personnel payroll function moved out of the clerk's office. And those are permanent records that we need to keep and need access to. So a downside to having them across the street is the access. We may be getting to a point that we need to look beyond where administration exists. So I get that was designed to be for commissioners' use, and admittedly, it's not very well suited now because of the files that are in there. So we can look at some alternative at some point.
And I think we'll put that on the list of things that we're addressing on the building ad hoc committee, because we've got several things going on right now with.
Regarding the building ad hoc committee, would you consider turning that into a standing board committee? Because the difference between the two, and I think that there's some case law on this that's coming, I know certainly from other states, but a standing committee has to comply with the Open Meeting Act, where it's basically the same thing, it's just called differently. And I'm afraid that we're skirting the Open Meeting Act because we're not having minutes, we're not having, public comment at these things, and other, members of the public and other board members should be able to see what's going on that. Where if you make it a standing committee, those rules are all in place, and then you could perhaps have a standing committee for, finance as well, to deal with the budget, and you're going to have a bunch of contracts come up here, union contracts that are, could probably use some board looking at before we see them as a whole.
Okay. Good comments. Thank you. Commissioner Colton?
No.
Commissioner Getty?
No.
Commissioner Smelker?
I guess I'm fine with the way the ad hoc committee is now for the building, because we bring everything back here anyway. So, and I guess, Mark, do you plan on having a lot of meetings over here? Of
Well,
more than 2 people? Because we have conference rooms over in Courts and Law and Titan, you can get together unless you're gonna have them on Commission Day, Tuesday. So, that's all I got.
Okay. Commissioner Tunison.
I want to correct the record. Last week I was talking about housing, and I happened to be leaving, and I ran into Jim McManus, and I probably should have talked to him first. Or sometimes I put my foot in my mouth, but it's a good way to get educated. He does give out special use permits for just what I was talking about. Somebody's got an extra space in a pole barn or whatever, so down to as low as 400 feet for housing. So I just wanted to clarify that I'm glad I found that out, and I think it's good public knowledge too. So,
Absolutely. Thank you. Commissioner Campbell.
I have nothing.
Commissioner Hatfield.
I have nothing.
Okay. One of the things that was mentioned by Commissioner Tunison earlier was the Robin Grant that Rutland Township is participating in. And both myself and Commissioner Getty have been working on this as well. We were on a conference call a week and a half ago. The issue with the Robin Grant is twofold. The state is putting out, I believe, around $250 million for broadband expansion in rural areas. They are awarding points based on where you develop that broadband. It's got to be in underserved areas. If there's an area that's already got high speed and you want to develop in that area, that doesn't qualify. They're looking to take broadband to areas that just have nothing right now, maybe other than satellite or something like that. The issue is it's a very short window. They put a 60-day window on it. It was kind of a surprise. The details on it were typical state documents where it's lots of pages. So I know MEI, Berry County Telephone's working hard on submitting a grant, a Robin Grant as well. I understand there are other players that may be coming into the county as well that are interested in that Robin Grant. And talking to Great Lakes, TrueStream, I'm not sure that they are going to be able to apply for that. Like I said, it's a very short window. And the other challenges is that it's an 85% grant, and they're looking for 15% matching funds for it. So Jennifer Heitzman's been doing an awesome job at the Chamber and EDA as far as reaching out to townships, asking if they want to participate, because if they put $150,000 in, that literally can turn into $1 million in broadband development in their township. And I know Rutland is very big into that. They're going to commit some ARPA dollars, and I believe Hope Township is as well. And that process, as the window continues to tighten. So Catherine and I have had conversations about whether the county can do anything as well. And it really depends on, the amount, who wins the grant, because at this point, we don't know. If we'll get any, if we'll get a little, if we'll get nothing. And then if someone like Comcast gets it, or if MEI gets it, and then it's a 3-year completion window to knock all that out. So it's awesome to have the opportunity to have that $250 million grant out there. I think the maximum amount they will award any one municipality or county would be $30 million. And we may have one player that's doing that. So as we get more information and get closer to that window, we'll keep you posted on what's happening and if there's an opportunity for us to participate in that, because we're certainly interested in expanding rural broadband in Berry County, because it's definitely needed. So, but anything else you want to add to that, Catherine? Did I miss anything?
Jennifer's in the process of reaching out to the individual townships, I believe, to find out, make them aware of the grant opportunity, but also determine if they have designated any of their ARPA money specifically for broadband expansion, and what that, and then help facilitate those applications if they're interested.
Mm-hmm. There may be an opportunity for us to help some townships or match. If they put dollars up, the county may be able to match, but we can't cross that bridge until we actually see who's interested. So it's a fluid process right now, but we're involved in it. So.
Well, it seems to me like every township will be interested. I mean, why wouldn't they be?
They would be. Some of them have already committed their ARPA dollars. The other thing is when you have townships like Berry Township and Prairieville Township that were both hit with close to $1 million in drain assessments last year, that a lot of their next 20 years is kind of gobbled up. So not everybody has the same checkbook at this point, so. But
Makes sense.
Yep, agreed. Okay. We've reached the end of our agenda. We appreciate everybody's attendance today and showing up. Thank you, and have a very wonderful Valentine's Day.